with Lazy Lima Life. Today, we're baking banana bread. We're continuing our breaking along with the Great British Bake Off from like months and months ago. I had shot this video and was trying to edit it and just gave up because it was really convoluted. And so I'm shooting it again and making it a little clearer just for you. The recipe I'm using today comes from my beat up, sad little copy of The Joy of Cooking. And you think the cover and everything is sad? Why don't we just look at that recipe? That is some nasty biz. Yeah, I've been making this banana bread since I was about, I don't know, like maybe 12 years old, 13. I'm going to tell you the recipe calls for 1 3/4 cups of sifted all-purpose flour, 2 1/4 teaspoons of double-acting baking powder, a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 1/3 cup of shortening, which, by the way, I'm just using now for the first time, pretty much. I've always used vegetable oil or grapeseed, but 2/3 cups of sugar, 3/4 teaspoon of grated lemon rind, 1 to 2 beaten eggs, and 1 to 1 1/4 cups of ripe banana pulp. There are optional ingredients, which are 1/2 cup of broken nut meats, which I don't add because nuts and things grosses me out, and 1/4 cup of finely chopped dried apricot. So about the apricots, it's like I said, I've been making this recipe since I was like 12 or 13. I just started adding the apricots last year. It takes this banana bread to a whole new level. Like, amazing. It's so good. Some other hints about the bananas. The nastier the bananas, the better the banana bread. I usually take bananas that are older than this. This is not quite ready yet for banana bread. And I ooze them out of the peel and put them into a Ziploc bag and freeze them like this. And for some reason, when they're really old, you put them in the freezer and they're fine. You take them out and defrost them and you get like grossy banana juice like that. It's good. Trust me. Don't just... Kathy, look away, sweetie. Shouldn't like bananas. Okay, so I read you the recipe out of the cookbook. Now I'm going to start with my recipe. I have my bowl and it has 1 1/4 cups of AP flour. So, and it's not sifted because I don't sift. This is 1/2 cup less than what is called for in the recipe, and then I added a 1/2 cup of flaxseed. I also have my 2 1/4 teaspoons of baking powder, which is double acting. I have a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and I'm just going to get a little whisk action going there. Okay, so it says in the recipe to blend until creamy, the shortening, the sugar, and the lemon rind. I kind of don't do that. What I do is I have my sugar and my orange peel rind, which I get at Penzeys. It smells, when you take the lid off, it smells like just oranges. It's lovely. I like orange instead of lemon in the banana bread. Suit yourself. Lemon, orange, none. Doesn't matter. So that's my sugar and orange rind mix. Rather than use the required 2/3 cups of sugar, what I did was I measured out 2/3 and then I took away 1 tablespoon, and I'm going to add molasses, because I just think that the depth of flavor that comes with the molasses is special and delicious. Okay, so there is, and oh, that made a mess. Okay. And to this, I'm going to add my 1/3 cup of shortening. The reason we're using shortening here is kind of similar to the molasses. I bought this for another recipe. It's good till September. I gotta use it. So rather than the usual oil, I'm using vegetable shortening. I'm using 2 eggs. I have them at room temperature. I just really like this recipe, and I was like trying to think of something new to do for the quick breads. You know, the quick breads in the episode that were in the series that we're following, they weren't supposed to be baked in a pan. They were supposed to be free shaped and what. And I just kind of didn't want to do that because I love this recipe so much that I wanted to share it. That's enough of a bit of a slurry there going. So we're just going to dump that. Okay, so that is coming along. About the apricots, usually 6 will make a half a cup, and these are soaking. I have these soaking in water just so they're a little more pliable. Nasty. I mean, look at that. It looks like paper pulp or something at the top. Don't think about it. Just toss it in there and do it. Does it smell like bananas? Yes, indeedy. And that's the important thing. It grosses me out, and I like bananas. So to season it, the recipe doesn't call for anything of seasoning other than the lemon rind, which I changed to orange, and the dried apricots. So I like a little seasoning. So what I'm going to add is, I have, this is 1/4 teaspoon. I'm going to add cardamom, which I've just started adding because I buy cardamom in a size like this. You got to use it in everything. So I'm going to use a nice 1/4 teaspoon of cardamom. I'm going to use a couple of shakes of cinnamon. Not a lot because I don't want it to be super cinnamony. And my favorite spice ever, which is nutmeg. I'm going to give a couple of good shavings here. I think the very first time I even made the recipe, I think I added cinnamon and nutmeg. It just, I don't know, it just seems to go. So, normally with my bananas, super ripe and oozy, I don't need to add any flavoring, but I have this Watkins banana flavoring, and the funny story about it is I think I had asked for butter flavoring. We're only going to add 1/4 teaspoon of banana flavoring. Okay, so there's that. And now we're ready for our apricots. Since they've been soaking, I'm just gonna strain these out, trying to get all the water out. Drop them in there, and mixy. You don't want to over mix your quick bread dough. You just want to make sure everything is incorporated. Just to itemize that again, my customizations for this recipe were the cardamom, the molasses, the flaxseed, banana flavoring, and the nutmeg and cinnamon. I've also used a bit of browned butter in the recipe in the place of some of the fat, but not all of it, just because I think if I used it for all of the fat, it might affect the rise and the texture of the quick bread. But a little bit of brown butter and you can have that like nutty, buttery, yummy taste, because brown butter makes everything taste like it just dropped out of heaven just for you. We're going to bake this at 350 degrees, which we've preheated our oven to, and we're going to bake it for about an hour. And so this is a 9x5 by 2 and some whatevers. That's usually my banana bread pan. It's Teflon coated, but I've also, so it's non-stick, but I've also sprayed it with a little non-stick spray, or you can use parchment paper, whatever you like. And we're just going to fold that in there. This is my grandmother's bowl. I love this bowl. I'm always afraid I'm going to drop it, but she used it, so will I. So we're just gonna pop that in the oven for an hour, and then we'll come back to banana bread. Okay, it's just about time to take our banana bread out of the oven. Bam. Was that timing or what? Well, that is a perfect loaf. So that is our banana bread, and we're going to let that cool in the pan. Banana bread out of the oven. It has a nice hollow kind of sound to it, so I know it's baked all the way through. So hopefully it'll just fall right out of the pan. Sometimes you need to help it a little bit, but let's give it a go. It's completely cool, and so you can see it's kind of pulled back from the edges. And oh, beautiful. Look at the bottom of that loaf. And that's a pretty good rise. Slice that puppy. Not you, Ben. We don't want to slice the actual puppy. That would be neat. I hope you try this recipe and come up with your own variations. Take out the spices, add more spices, add a little vanilla, add some almond flavoring. Who knows? Switch out the flax for wheat germ. Switch out the wheat germ and the flax, whatever you decide, for whole wheat flour. It all works out. So, thank you so much for watching, and enjoy your banana bread. And, you know, the thing with the comment and the like and the subscribe, please do that. Thanks. Bye. Anything.